From that day, we share cafe lattes. Ooh, cafe lattes. Hello everyone and welcome to Having a Lovely Chat. My guest today, we're doing it outside, we usually do it in the cafe, but my guest today is Nick Delehanty from County Tipperary. How are you, Nick?
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Nice to meet you.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so I know you are trying to get on the ballot for the presidential campaign. If you want to give a little brief background maybe.
Yeah,
to yourself.
I'm from Tipperary, grew up on a pig farm outside Clonmel, and I worked as a solicitor for 10 years, then set up a business which is, as we were just saying, based not too far from here, and we'll talk about that. And then over the last few years I've tried to get into politics as an independent and trying to use, my experience as a solicitor and my experience as running a small business and just delving deep into what's going on, how the country's been run. Basically what I'm doing is following the money, like where's all the money being spent, and I've been putting it out online and people love it, because they're like, oh, we didn't know this, that's pretty shocking, this is all our taxpayers' money, and because we all pay so much tax, it's like and like it's not that I don't mind paying tax, but like we should have ultimate transparency of where it's going.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, so we're trying to get on the ballot. We have a good chance of getting on the ballot. If we get on the ballot, that would be just huge.
How you think it's going, like, to get on that? It seems a bit of.
So we're contacting all the councillors around the country, including in Louth. We'll be meeting a couple after this podcast. To just try and introduce myself.
You're going to meet them after here?
Yeah, you're
kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, efficiency.
I like it.
And so we'll just introductions. It's like, look, it's not necessarily that you have to vote for me. It's that you have to say that I'm worthy of being on the ballot. And I''ve done my constitutional law exams. I'm qualified to do the job because I'm a solicitor.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a solicitor, but I think it makes you a little bit more credible. And so, I'm saying, look, why not put me on the ballot? I'm the minimum age, 35 years old, which isn't young, but it's just the minimum age for
I'm
the presidency
as well, man. So
that's and our age group, the biggest voting block over the next few years is going to be the under 40s.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize during the Celtic Tiger there was a baby boom, and so that baby boom, the Gen Zers are all coming of age now. And it's like, who's representing these guys?
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm, I run a small business. I rent an apartment in Dublin with my wife and my young son. And even though I contribute a lot of money to tax and create employment, we have 10 employees, I can't get a mortgage.
Yeah,
it's so hard for entrepreneurs to get a mortgage.
Yeah, it really is. Because I obviously found, only for we knew someone in the bank, as we got lucky, but I understand that. And I'd say people will resonate the fact that you have a small business as well. Just tell us a bit about the small business. Seems what you're talking about.
So I gave up law because I didn't really agree with some of the stuff I was doing. I was setting up a lot of these vulture funds and things like that. I was a funds lawyer, corporate lawyer. And so I gave up, and I wanted to set up a business. I was looking around at different businesses, and I found that nobody was doing doggy daycare. And I love dogs. Who doesn't? Do you have a dog?
I don't have a dog.
Oh, you should get one.
I know.
Send them to us.
Deal. That's sold. Yeah.
But so I went around and I thought this was a very interesting business. And so we ended up looking for a site and bought a cow field basically out the road between Duleek and Julianstown. And we've turned it into a doggy daycare centre.
Really?
And so we pick up dogs all around Dublin. We have 10 buses on the road, and they come to the site. They let the dogs play. It's segregated into 5 or 6 different half-acre sizes. So there's loads of room.
Wow, how big is the field you bought?
5 acres.
Wow,
And then people from Drogheda and Julianstown and Balbriggan come to us and they drop their dogs off.
Deadly.
And it's a great service. It's all about the dogs. And we'd love to make it into have a veterinary there or groomers and all that. But because we're quite rural and everything costs money, we're just so this whole year it's just about we're not growing the business anymore. It's just like, let's try and make a profit,
Okay.
and so we can actually get the mortgage. So I'm hoping I'll be mortgage ready by the next year. But it's just, I want to keep growing the business, but it's hard to do both.
Yeah. Sometimes you just nearly have to stop and just go, right, let's get this ticking properly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how do you find being a business owner and compared to what you used to do?
Yeah, I
love it?
I love it. But I'm very glad I qualified as a solicitor, because it gives you an enormous amount of experience and training just to understand basically how the world works. Working in the big firms, you understand, aircraft leasing, funds, corporate deals, M&A, litigation, and everything relies on these things, and all the money that comes through Ireland comes through these offices, and you're writing these contracts. So it was a huge experience, and you really see the inner workings of the belly of the beast. But at the same time, you're working extremely hard, and you're getting paid well. Like I was getting paid way more as a 28-year-old than I'm earning as a 35-year-old. But even though I'm generating way more tax as a business owner, that's the way I see it. Man, I'm just seeing it as even though you
those
might
lovely VAT bills come in.
But you could be on 150 grand as a lawyer. I was never on 150 grand, but you could be on 150 grand as a lawyer, and you're paying 75 grand in tax. But you could have a small business that is generating, 600 or 700 grand a year, that is paying 300 or 400 grand a year in tax with all employees, but you're earning way less. But I suppose you trade that for the freedom of being your own boss.
Working for yourself.
How do you find it?
Yeah, no, I love it. As I said, it's the being your own boss kind of thing. I love coffee. I love the community that it creates. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you've done a very good job of creating community.
Yeah, well, I think so. Well, and that's what I always try and do. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's no, I love it. But again, that's the thing that really annoys me. You know, one of the things that does annoy me is the rates, man. It's like, I was like, where does this go?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And no, well, it's just the rates. It's like, but where does the money go? You know what I mean? So the whole thing of transparency, I would love nothing more in this world. In especially in the political sector, is what we need. You know what I mean? 100%.
I haven't been paying. I wasn't subject to rates because it was a Carefield. But just a few months ago, the man came in.
Did he?
And he's like, I'm the rate man. I was like, welcome. Here's our place. I was just like, oh no, what kind of bill is this going to be?
Yeah. So did you get it?
We haven't got the amount. They're still assessing it. We're due a letter in the post.
How big of it? It's just on the space you have, is it?
Yeah, but
as in the building.
Yeah. So we only have containers because there's no planning permission and stuff. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be a couple £100, but maybe it'll be a lot more. So But again, so now the rates are coming for me.
Yeah, lovely.
And rates are controversial because some buildings at the moment are exempt from rates and things like that.
It's a very controversial thing, and nobody seems to know what's going on with them.
And it's a reason why so many town centres, there's not. You're punishing people for opening a retail business in a town centre when you're trying to.
Drogheda is prime example of that.
Yeah. And that's why. I look into the council budgets. I particularly focus on Dublin. Dublin City Council has an annual budget of 1.4 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like that's an enormous. That's a massive company.
Yeah.
And I know it's a lot of people, and there's just the city council, but 360 million euros of that money, which is almost 30%, maybe a little bit more. Is spent on homeless accommodation services.
Okay.
So Dublin City Council is basically, like most of it is, or a lot of it is just made up of providing homeless accommodation. And when you look at the people, this all only came out recently through the Currency news site. They did great work, and a few others, Mark Tye and the Sunday Times. And when you look at the landlords that are getting the majority of that money, it's basically a group of 20 landlords. All of them are massive in the iPass game.
Okay.
And some of them are the main ones, like Seamus McEnany from Monaghan and his associated companies, and they're making huge money from this. And you get into what is a homeless accommodation. It's not just like
it can kind of be a spread. Like it's not specific.
The term homeless is becoming looser and looser. And this is just being exposed now over the last couple of months, and even the Irish Times are starting to report on it.
Yeah, I've seen it all over the news.
So, but it's like, so that's when you say where's your rates going. A lot of it's going there, but there's these people making millions from it, and they'll structure their company in a very tax efficient way. In terms of, they'll structure through a fund, basically the old job I used to do, and that's why I'm so interested in this. Is like,
well, you understand it,
but the funds I was setting up, funds aren't a bad thing. Like you know, there's funds that invest in Apple shares or bonds from countries, and that's fine. They're just very vanilla. There's nothing wrong with them. And they have, you know, tax advantages, and that's fine. And Ireland is a great place for them. It employs a lot of people. But then these property funds are just a little bit more controversial, because these guys are getting huge tax advantages to buy up houses and properties. And if you structure your business through a fund and you have rent, you don't pay tax on the rent. But if you have your own, if you're renting out apartment just as yourself, you have to pay tax. So it's like I'm not particularly against the tax advantage they have, as long as you give it to the normal guy.
For sure, yeah.
And so that's why I like support small businesses. Like my landlord is an individual. He's just, you know, it's himself and his wife, and they have a couple of apartments, and they're nice people. But if we're starting to force these guys out of being landlords, because they're paying, it's costing them
as
so
an individual
much.
Could you just set up a fund? Like,
it costs a lot of money,
right? Okay.
So you'd have to engage big solicitors, deposit the service providers.
Well, if you're getting millions,
so it only works at scale. Like, it probably, just to set the thing up, you know, it's going to cost you at least 500 grand, I'd say.
Right, okay.
And then you know, it only works at scale.
Damn.
Well, I would say there's probably, I given that the AI and stuff now, you could probably reduce a lot of that, because a lot of it's paperwork.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And you know, I'm sure there's a market there. Maybe if I should go back and look at this
side project, ChatGPT Solicitor.
Yeah. Well, it's
unreal though, isn't it? ChatGPT.
Yeah, I use it every day,
all the time, man.
Well,
it's crazy, just for anything.
Yeah, for anything.
I don't even idea that might work, and then boom. Like, it is mad.
I talk to people, and you know, for every Tinder message or that they write, they're drafting it through ChatGPT first. And they're putting it back.
Solid.
So it's all the AI, you know, you're just AIs talking to each other, basically.
Yeah. Jeez. Oh my god.
So it is changing everything, and you know, that's why, again, you kind of want people that understand AI the way it's coming. Not that I'm technical about it, but I use it.
Yeah.
And a lot of older kind of politicians, you know, or just don't know what it is yet.
I think I've seen the guy who's like the head over it, and I don't think he even knew what it was.
Yeah, there was our junior minister for AI. She's a very nice lady, but she had never used ChatGPT.
Yeah, which is like probably the first thing that like come out. So everyone should have dabbled in that at least.
Yeah, and she, like, look, she wants to do good. She's a nice person, but it kind of comes back to the thing of, you know, we're not getting the right people actually into politics. We're kind of just getting figureheads that then, you know, outsource the actual work to someone, and they're not really competent in the field, you know, of expertise that they're being put in charge of.
And sup away.
Great coffee.
How's the coffee? Yes. Is that kind of what inspired you to get into it then?
Yeah, because competency is the word I come back to all the time. Because I remember, you know, I'd be in the firm I was working in at the time, Arthur Cox, and there was brilliant older guys in there, and some of the partners in there, they were just so like impressive. I was like, oh my god, I've never seen someone like that can just get through this body of work so quick. You know, and they're getting paid very well for like multiple times what a politician gets paid. But I remember vividly saying, like, there was something in the news that day about, you know, Leo Varadkar or whoever was at the time. I was like, why aren't these guys there? Like, it was like, we've got the wrong people doing the important jobs. Yeah. And when you boil it down, is this is the way I see it, and people can push back on this, but the biggest, our accountancy firms and our law firms, the biggest, the people that pay their bills are the big American funds, like your KKRs, your BlackRocks, your Vanguards, all the stuff you read about on the internet. They are the biggest clients for these firms. And they are trying, they don't have Ireland's best interests at heart.
No.
They have profit.
Yeah.
And And these guys are just buying up so much things. So they're employing our best people to work for them. And I'm saying, no, well, maybe the government should be
employing them to work for. Yeah, for sure.
So how do you do that? So the way I think about it is, we've just had Simon Harris and Leo Varadkar be the 2 youngest Taoiseachs in a row. And some people would say that's great, and I'm like, okay, but what's their experience? Why is it that we've had the 2 youngest Taoiseachs in a row? The reason is because during college they signed up to Fine Gael Ogra or whatever it's called, and they never left, and they just entered Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil or whichever at a really early age, never left, rose through the party ranks. Simon Harris became Minister for Health at 26. With no, that's crazy.
It is crazy.
With no experience. And it's not as if he was wildly talented. I'm not against young people. Michael O'Leary took over Ryanair at 26, but that was because he was incredibly talented.
Yeah. Like a businessman.
Yeah, so it can happen. But anyway, the reason it happened here is because they kind of were just very good within their parties. And Leo Varadkar got to being Taoiseach in 35 or 36, and did it for a few years, and now is left. And he said, I don't want to be a career politician, so he's left, and now he looks for a lobby firm. And I'm like, no, you've done it in reverse.
Yeah.
Because you should work in private, and whether you're running a coffee shop, running a dog business, whether you're a solicitor, an accountant, a plumber, a painter, you should do that 10 years first
and have the experience to go into,
and then go into politics. So now that's a good idea. How do we make it happen? And the way I like to think about it, and again, this isn't a fully thought out idea, but what about if you do 10 years work, let's say, and then you go into public life, whether it's politics or working in the council or being a civil servant, that you have a tax rebate from the previous 10 years you've done.
Okay.
So for every year you work, you get to claim a percentage of tax. Now, I haven't worked out the numbers, but it just means that there's an incentive
for you to go to do the job in politics then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not about paying politicians more. It's like whatever job you did before, and you could do it on a scale. So let's say you only you earn minimum wage for the first 10 years, but there would be a higher percentage you can claim back off of that. You'd have to sit down and do it. But the old phrase, "Show me the incentive, and I'll show you the outcome." And I'm like, where are the incentives?
Yeah, I like that. It is a decent idea.
I think it's good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that, because I do think people do need to be incentivized to go in, and actually rather than politicians just seem like they're all working for themselves a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
The thing about they're always worried about getting re-elected. So they're by its nature that makes you cautious, and you don't want to. You want to make sure you get re-elected because that's your income and that's your job, and you want to focus on your local area, which is great, and I understand that. But at some point, someone needs to think nationally, and what actually direction is the entire country going in. And again, I like Stephen Donnelly is a good example of this. He was the Minister for Health, and he focused a lot on health. And people say he did. He gets criticism, but he tried his best. I think he tried his best, but he lost his next seat because he didn't focus on his local politics. He was committed to trying to, Minister for Health's the hardest job.
I'd say so. Because
I have ideas for things. I'm not sure what the solutions are for the HSE. I haven't studied it properly. It's just massive and so complicated.
Yeah.
And so he lost the seat. And so, the next Minister for Health will be looking at that going, well, maybe if I just focus on my local area and make sure I get back in.
Yeah. And the fact is, do you think in their mind it's like, well, I'm only here for a certain amount of time and I can only do so much, or what way do you reckon do you kind of approach the situation? If it is the hardest job, you're like, I don't have that long to fix this, or whatever, you know what I mean? It must be very hard.
And then it becomes down to the question, well, who is in charge? And then it becomes like the Secretary General.
But at the politicians, just maybe the face, and there's obviously there is a million things going on in the background,
And so that's it. So these civil servants and the Secretary Generals are the ones that are actually making decisions, because they've probably been there 20 years. Yeah. So a question that people say to me going for this is like, the president doesn't have any power of any executive power. So I just ask the question back, well, who does have executive power? Like, because I don't think the ministers currently do. Local councillors don't. The Taoiseach, we've got consecutive rotating Taoiseach. So they're just passing the power around.
Exactly. It just seems like a mess.
Yeah.
Like it just everything. I think, and people are really disillusioned with the whole system as a whole. It just seems everything is a bit of a mess at the minute.
It is. I mean, it's a shame because we've done the hard part of getting the money here. Like, we've loads of money, and we've all full employment. We've I got these big American tech firms and all that. That's brilliant. It really is in so many ways. But a lot of people are like, well, how is it benefiting me at the end of the day? And that's where it's like, well, where's the money actually going?
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people making money, and some of them are just making it off of how government schemes basically. And I get very angry at that. Or there's just so much wastage within these structures. So like, a lot of people say it's time for a department of snip, basically a Doge.
Right.
Let's cut back.
Yeah.
And I'd love that.
Yes.
Like, because it's so bloated at the moment. I always say the problem with Ireland is that money is not the problem.
Okay.
Because we just have so much money to throw at things. And the government solution is, if we throw a couple of million at that or $1 billion at that, surely that'll fix it.
Yeah.
But what it doesn't fix it.
No.
You just employ more people. Someone's taking off the top. Yeah. So it's like you actually got to cut back. And sometimes when you have no money, you come up with the best solution.
Okay.
It's the most,
I know what you mean,
the most innovative solution.
Well, you're kind of forced it.
You're forced it.
I think outside the box, really.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
So that
you're full of the quotes.
I was up all night learning them. But so we have so much money, we've kind of squandered it. People will say this is has been a wasted decade. What do we have to show for it? At least in the Celtic Tiger, we had roads, we had houses.
Yeah.
And that didn't go great, but at least people were left in negative equity, but at least they were in their house.
Yes.
And they just had to suffer a mental burden of negative equity for almost a decade, and now the house prices have regained and stuff. But at least they had a house. And at the moment, it's like, what do we have now? We might get a children's hospital when it comes online.
Still going.
Back then, we're not building any tunnels. Like I came up through the M1 tunnel. I use it every day.
Oh man,
it's the best piece of infrastructure in the country.
Yeah.
Like, let's build more.
There needs to be way more of that, doesn't it? Like, even with the M50, man, it's shocking.
The M50 is full every morning.
Every single morning, coming back. Like, it's like, surely someone's thought at this time that we need another one, or you know what I mean? Like, because
Michael O'Leary talks about that. He's saying, like, we need to build a road from Drogheda to Maynooth to Wicklow, or
like a loop.
An outer M50.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe, like, that's a huge infrastructure project. And this is the thing about just immigration. We're bringing a lot of people say that the Irish went everywhere. We should have everyone here, and I'm like, okay, that's an interesting thought. Let's talk about it. So the Irish went everywhere, and we went everywhere to work. We dug the tunnels. We built the skyscrapers. At the moment, we're bringing in so many people to a dead end.
Yeah.
Like, where's the big infrastructure projects?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like and at the moment you bring them into a dead end to just get social welfare, and that's actually what causes tension. It's like, well, we're paying all the tax, and if you're going to run immigration hot, you have to run infrastructure projects and spending hot as well to match the two. And if you look back at when all the Irish people went to New York, that's what happened.
Yes.
There was no such thing as welfare in New York.
Yeah, for sure.
You weren't getting government handouts.
Yeah. Same, but everywhere, like, you go, you know what I mean?
Yeah, government handouts for immigrants didn't start until the 1950s kind of, and then really exploded only in the early 2000s, and now it's really exploded in the last 4 or 5 years in Ireland.
And I think you're right. I think that's what is causing the anger at the minute with a lot of people.
Yeah, well, it's the money,
and it's annoying on, like, immigration, because everyone knows immigration is great, like, for the country. We all need it. Like, it's normal, you know what I mean? But when it is, that's basically so bad, like, it's not benefiting anybody here. Like, there's lads coming over, and you see the videos, like, they look like they're getting tense, and they're away sleeping on the street. Like, it's like, what's the story with that?
You gotta have responsible policy.
Absolutely.
And like, immigration is one of these ones that, if you get it wrong, you really upset. You really upset the social construct, like the social contract, and create social tensions. Like, so I run a company. We have a great team made up of Brazilians, Irish, Croatia, Latvia, Portugal, South Africa. You know, so that's great.
Yeah, brilliant.
Everyone's working, everyone's here, everyone's paying tax, and they're happy to be here.
That's a good example.
Oh yeah, so you know, people say, because I'm critical of the iPass system and things like that, people say, use the term you're anti-government. I'm like,
you're far right or whatever, which is very annoying, man. Like, how do you deal with that? Like, I just
say back the facts. I'm like, look, you can throw a lazy label on things, and that's fine, but that is lazy, and eventually, you know, you will be proven to be wrong, and that is just, you know, ridiculous. So
everything you're saying is like, it's I think most people think like that.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? Just you know, it's like common sense, and have a proper structure in place that everyone benefits, and it's not an organized mess, an unorganized mess. You know what I mean? But
like we're in Drogheda. The D Hotel has been taken over. And like that's a local resource. If you're
massively affected. Tourism in the town.
Tourism, and like, you know, you get a lot of golf tourism here. You get tourism for a lot of things, and that, you know, that's the main hotel. And the guys that own that hotel are making a fortune. If you actually look into the numbers, now these numbers are all estimates, but let's just say, I think that hotel, let's just say it did 8 million a year before it became iPass. Now it does like 8 million every 3 months, and the costs are way less. Now it's not 8 million. It's a different figure, but it's something like that. I looked into it at the time.
Sorry, but do you do all the research yourself, or do you have like a bit of a team?
No, I just do it all myself.
Yeah. So, but you've the knowledge how to escape through the whole thing.
Yeah, I've gotten good at it and know where to look, and I just. I was doing it in my spare time,
right?
And I was like, does anyone else know this?
No, I don't think people do.
So I had to put it out online, and then it gains traction, and then when you gain traction online, it becomes a feedback loop of, okay, let's do more. And so, you know, I think I'm confident I've helped inform people a lot. And that's a good thing. And everything I said, every video I make, like, there's a document behind me, you know, that says what I'm talking about. So it's all true.
Which is the important thing.
Yeah.
Truth. You know what I mean? And that's all anyone really wants to get, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
What we do.
But so the government will say, so the pushback is, look, we agree, you know, there is too much money being spent, and they will say, you know, this is our international obligation. And I push back on that and saying, you know, well, your national obligations should become before your international obligations. And the international obligations they're talking about are asylum laws, and which are basically have their roots in the 1950s Geneva Conventions. And those laws are just wildly out of date. I always find it funny. The government has currently tried to update the hate speech laws because they're out of date, and they're based on 1989 laws.
Right, okay.
I was like, okay, well, you want to up those? They're 1989. What about these ones that are 1950? You know, before private equity, before venture capital, before low-cost airlines, before social media and mobile phones.
Then you can manipulate that system, no problem, I'm sure.
And that's what, and I call it the immigration industrial complex, where these massive funds, again, that I was talking about, have just, whether it was deliberately or just the way things go, the system has been hacked, and the people coming we're not helping the most vulnerable people in the world.
No,
like, there's no, like, the biggest wars in the world at the moment are Ukraine, Myanmar, Sudan, Gaza, and others. And, you know, we're helping Ukrainians, that's great, but some Gazan people come here, but the other ones, there's none. It's all Nigeria, Georgia, Pakistan, and there's no wars in these places, so they're not the most vulnerable people in the world,
right? But
they are people that the offer of asylum is better than their current life, so they'll take it, and they'll come here, and you basically,
well, as you would though, if you were them, you would.
If I was them, I'd do the exact same thing. Exactly. But it's like, the populations of these countries is massive. Right, okay. Like, there's hundreds of millions of people living in Nigeria. There's hundreds of people living in Pakistan. And there's like India. India is 1.5 billion people. It's the most populated country in the world at the moment. It can send 2.5 million people to every country in the world and still have 1 billion people left at home. Like so, like it's like, and at the moment it's like, well, Indians are the minority. Well, they're the massive majority around the world. 1 in 6 people in the world is Indian.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
And their birth rate is 1 million people a month. So every 5 months they create a new Ireland.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, guys, like we just got to be careful here. Like if you like. India, we can't solve India's problems, or like, and they've got a huge workforce, and I know a lot of Indians that have moved to Ireland, and that's great and all, but like there's an endless amount of people. So you gotta in the age of low cost travel, you gotta just be a bit more responsible.
For sure.
And nobody talks about this because immediately like, oh, that's controversial or racist. It's like, no, it's not. It's like, we are a country. A country is border. We pay tax into this system. And again, it comes back to tax. Like, this is the system we pay tax in. And there's, at the moment, we're in a housing crisis, so there's limited housing. So you either really decrease planning laws and we build, and let's just build up. That's where the skyscrapers in Dublin, and then you can bring people in. And that can be controversial policy itself, but they're not even doing that. It's like, again, people are coming into a dead end.
Yeah. And is that the reason why you're going for presidency, or what? What are you thinking you can do with the office of? Yeah.
So to go for presidency, I want to represent young people.
Yep.
Again, I'm part of Generation Rent. There's nobody else had come for this that's part of Generation Rent. Everyone else is going to be 20 or 30 years older than me. Apart from there's one new guy. Yeah.
I want to talk about that. Do you mind if we talk about that?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Garrett Sheridan, I've only seen him the last couple of weeks out of nowhere, right?
Yeah. Last couple of days. He only launched on Sunday.
Yeah, right. And I have a theory. Do you think he's like backed a little bit by the government to get you out of the way?
I do know that is a bit tinfoil hat.
Well, I know, but like I seen yesterday in the RTE. Did you see the RTE article?
Yes.
And then he's like Tipperary and Laois and all.
Yeah,
and that's a bit of a coincidence.
Well, I'm from Tipperary.
I know, that's what I mean.
And my mum's from Laois. My uncles are from Laois.
Come on, like no. I don't know. Me and my brother were talking about it. It's like, that's a bit weird. Like, and he's been on News Talk, and in the RTE article, like you didn't even get really mentioned in it. Like,
so he's hired.
I don't know the guy, by the way. I'm just from reading online. I was like, that's a bit strange.
He's hired a brilliant PR team, and he's been picked up by the national media. That is surprising, because I've been, I've emailed all these kind of journalists and sent things to them to try and get on. But I think there's you kind of have to play the game.
The toe in the party line type job is what I'd be thinking.
Yeah, he's safer because he's newer. He hasn't voiced opinions on things. But we've raised money now. We've done crowdfunding, and we've gone out and I've hired kind of people that are good at PR or press, and hopefully we're going to do a launch event in 2 weeks to invite actual mainstream media to it. So hopefully they come.
Right. Where's that on?
That is going to be on Tuesday the 26th.
Okay.
And we'll be announcing the announcement for the launch next week.
Okay.
And then
details. Yeah.
No, it's going to be it's going to be I'm happy to say it. Like it's going to be on Tuesday 26th in Dublin, and it'll just be a launch event with the press, and I'll be inviting people to come and just set out my stall, and maybe just have a bit more targeted to try and get a bit more coverage on the mainstream media.
Yeah.
So best of luck to this guy. His company is very strange. They've come after his shareholders and things like that. There's a lot of questions, but I'm sure maybe he'll answer them all over the next while. But look, I'm kind of focused on my campaign. Yeah. We have enough to be doing. I am younger than him, so I will be the youngest.
Right. Okay.
I'll stick
Hold on to that.
I'll stick to that. So look, best luck to him. But the other thing I say is that, like, there's a presidential election on in 2 months. If there was a council election on in 2 months, or a general election, or a European, I'd run in them.
Right.
And I'm not sure anyone else or whoever other people would. Like, my point is that I'm here to represent Irish people. I don't care if it's the presidency. I don't care if it's the council. I just want to represent.
Right.
And I'll represent it to the best I can, to a high standard. I think I'm worthy of being on the ballot. The ballot has been blown open now. Mairead McGuinness has pulled out, and she's obviously local. you know, it's very, you know, wish her very well.
Is she okay?
I don't know any details, but
Right.
I do know she wanted this.
Okay.
And you know, she'd been planning this, so it must be serious.
Yeah,
if
it just
she's
seems
pulled
like
out.
she's focusing on her health or whatever. So
If she's pulled out,
she's all right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I, you know, we put out a message, and you know, we're all very sorry to see that, because you know, our health is our wealth, and you know, you wouldn't wish that on anyone. So, but it's blown the race wide open. So you know, at the moment there's only one confirmed candidate.
Yeah.
And that's,
so when is the the deadline for to be announced as the candidates?
so the councils will have their votes mid and late September.
Okay.
And we're going around to the councils now to try and, you know, make sure we can get into they'll have meetings, and we go along, we'll pitch our case, and so we just want to pitch to as many councils as possible, and see how it goes. You know, I don't think the big parties are going to block, especially now. I think that Mairead McGuinness has pulled out. You know, you know, there's not a whole lot of candidates to
why
go
is
around.
that? Strange, is it?
Well, that's one of the reasons I'm running, is because
Yeah.
it's like nobody wants this job.
Yeah.
Because the nomination process and the campaign is grueling. You know, people get outed for you know what you had breakfast 20 years ago,
Yeah.
and that'll come for me as well. Like people,
How do you deal with that? That would get me, man. I'd be
Yeah,
like, oh no.
Look, I'm sure they'll find something. I don't know, but I've been out there online for
Yeah,
the last
yeah.
2 years, very public. I've received you know, pushback from different people, been called names, and that's fine. I'm kind of used to it now.
Yeah, doesn't bother you.
Doesn't bother me now, because a lot of I have actually more support than I have negative. Like
right.
people are just like,
Yeah.
no, this guy is just so genuine.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
Well, that's the impression I got off
Yeah,
you. That
yeah.
you're just like honesty and just like telling people truths that we never knew before. You know.
It's curious. I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah.
What's going on? And like like I could have joined one of the parties. Like I would have grown up in my mum would be Fianna Fáil, and my dad would vote Fine Gael, and I could have tried to join one of the parties, but I was like, do you know what? What I'm about here is like, it's not about just signing up and saying that, pretending that once I join one of these parties, everything that party does is great. I'd like to set out my case from the outside and see how far I go. And you know, maybe we join a smaller party, maybe we join a bigger party, maybe we start a party. I don't know.
Is there any political party right now that you kind of, you know, fancy a little bit?
No, so like I have tremendous respect for a lot of politicians in different parties.
Okay.
I really do. Like you know, I can name some. Like Michael McNamara is an independent.
Yeah, he's a good dude,
He's great. Patrick Turbeen's the leader of Ainto. He's you know, he's genuinely wants to, you know, do good. Ken O'Flynn is in Independent Ireland. He's there throwing bombs at the moment.
Right, okay.
He's doing great. You know, even some of the bigger parties. You know, let's talk about Sinn Féin. Like Pierce Doherty, I think he does great. It does very good work. Matt Carty is trying to get out there and do things. And there's another Sinn Féin lady, she's from Cavan, I forget her name, but she's younger, and she's trying to come out. You know, let's talk about Fine Gael. No, there's no one. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I was waiting.
There are young, you know, younger people coming up. In Fianna Fáil, James O'Connor he was the baby of the last stall. He's starting to put out tweets that's like, you know, kind of more against like, why are we doing this? What are we doing? He's kind of pro, like, why is nuclear not allowed? You know, who's making it, the decisions? So there are voices within these parties, and things can change quickly once leadership changes.
Okay, that's good then. And how has it been good response then from you meeting different councils and stuff like that for you?
There has been, from when the independents in all the councils are like, yeah, great, and then you know, other councillors who are, you know, part of a party, they want to see people on the ballot, even though they might get a diktat from headquarters saying that no, you can't. But it's literally in the constitution,
as in the more the better kind of thing.
Yeah, well, they're like they in the constitution there is the councillors are given the role, if they choose to do it, to put people on the ballot for the presidency. And that should be separate to any party politics. It's a function of the council.
Yeah.
And the problem is, over the last 20 years, they have completely depowered the role of a local councillor. The councillors don't do much anymore.
Great.
Yeah, no, that's the actual count, but the councillors don't have as much power as they used to. There's now a chief executive and there's different management. And I am like, no, we should. This all came in the Local Government Reform Act in 2012, I think.
Well, that's when Drogheda lost there. We don't have the council.
The town councils. Yeah. They got rid of those.
Yeah, rid of that,
and
Micheál, crazy.
Micheál Martin has come out and said that he wants to bring back the town council.
Well, there should be.
But like, he says that, but like, okay, well, let's do it. Let's start doing it now. He's like, oh no, we'll do it in 3 years' time. It's like, no, like, if you mean it, let's just do it. So the big question is like, do you want more democracy or less democracy? And at the moment, we're getting less democracy. So if we're going to be democratic society, it should be complete democracy.
Yeah, for sure. And more transparency.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you in that. And then there was another point I was going to say. Sorry. Oh, yeah. So what do you make of the digital euro and stuff like that? I just wanted to talk to you. Have you looked into any of that?
The CBDs, the central bank digital currencies. Yeah, I wouldn't be a fan.
No.
Trump has said that's never going to come in America, which is good. The European Union seem hell-bent on pushing it through at some stage. I think it's called. They're launching something in a few months' time. I think it gets proposed and then gets kicked out. But then it becomes conspiratorial. Like it's a cashless society and money is programmable, and it's a bit like in China that if you say the wrong thing, you can be deplatformed, debanked, and that's scary.
Yeah,
and that the famous case was the Canadian truckers. This was during COVID, had their
big protests,
and a lot of them got debanked.
Yes, I've seen that,
and their funding, they had loads of fund, like GoFundMe's and stuff, and it all got cut off because the government rang the banks, just like, shut that down. So that's all scary. So then you're kind of into the land of cryptocurrency. Like CBDC is a cryptocurrency, but just a government one. And then,
are you into crypto and stuff like that?
I there was an article about me saying that I was a crypto bro or something for a while, because during COVID I think everyone turned into one.
I've loads of Shiba Inu.
because there was nothing else to do. It's just and it was great fun, and now it's back.
It is back.
All season is here.
Yeah. Look, which I think is something that could be in the government as well, like an area of that. No, is that?
Well, because we're part of the European Union, part of the Euro, the Irish government gave away all its functions around that, so it's all got to do. That all comes from Europe,
right?
And which is, a lot of people say we should never join the Euro. I don't know whether you can. I
was going to ask you then after this, mate. What's your actual opinion on of late the European Union?
Yeah. So I don't think we should leave the European Union. I want the European Union just to be better.
Yeah.
And the European Union is very undemocratic. Like, we've got Ursula von der Leyen, who's the she's the head, but she wasn't directly elected. So the way it works is the council, which is made up of the member state, like Micheál Martin's, the president, Taoiseachs and presidents and prime ministers. They select someone.
Yeah. And
that person was, for the last two was Ursula von der Leyen, and then they propose this person, Ursula von der Leyen, to the commission. The commission is all the MEPs, Michael McNamara and people like that, and there's hundreds of those, and then they get a ballot paper, and there's only one person on it. It's so funny,
right? Okay.
I've tweeted it before. It's like, that's the ballot paper, and the MEPs can reject that person or vote them. So, and if they reject, they send it back to the council, and they pick another person. So it's not as if they can propose their own person.
Yeah.
So anyway,
so you're not voting again. You're just voting whether they're okay with you, or if they're not.
It's not real. It's not a real vote. And so Ursula von der Leyen is in her second term. I seem to be the only one making this prediction at the moment, that she's going to be in an unprecedented third term, and then she becomes the emperor. Like
Star Wars movies.
Yeah. Well, I think, if you're in it, that's unprecedented. Normally, 2 terms. Like, that's everything is two terms and done.
But why do you think that is, though?
Because the European Union is just a complete bureaucracy. Like, it's a bureaucracy, not a democracy.
Yeah.
And there's so many memes of how Europe is just so good at regulation, and that's what we're getting. And there's a lot of kickback from this in other member states. You know, the Dutch, the French, the Italians.
I seen a thing the other day with all the Italians, French, and all the different parties now seem to be
on the rise.
On the rise, yeah,
and
like by a good bit.
Yeah, they are because they that's what you do. Like if you want to embolden the far right, if you want to embolden them, you couldn't be doing a better job.
Yeah.
I honestly couldn't. Maybe just like and that the only country that really saw sense on this is Denmark.
Yes, I'd go explain a little bit.
So Denmark, in 2015, had an explosion of people coming to their country, mostly from Syria, and over the next couple of years, it just turned to chaos. There was too many people. They weren't speaking the language. They weren't integrating. They were all living in the same apartment blocks and creating slums and things like that. And so the Danish government acted quick, and they were like, no, this isn't going to work for us. And so they cleared out the slums, and they put stricter asylum laws in place.
Okay.
And they said, look, the people coming here, a lot of them don't need asylum. So they created a rule that if you come here, any valuables or cash that you have on you over like 1,500 euros, then that goes to pay for your stay. Which is like, okay, well, if you're going to come in and be, you know, a ward of the state, you know, you probably shouldn't have 10 grand in your bank account. And so, you know, or you know, like, I'm not saying they have 10 grand, but but even just by doing that, it meant that they were just a harder place to go. So people would just go other places. So they reduced the numbers of people applying to them, and they introduced like tests of you know, you had to speak the language if you wanted to become a Danish citizen, a civics test. They even introduced things like, if you want to be in Denmark, women must shake the hands of men, like especially if you're working in thing, because in some faiths, Islam, you know, men and women in strict interpretations, you can't shake hands. And they were like, no, we're not having that. That's not Danish. We're equal. Men and women are equal, and that's it. And if you don't like that, go somewhere else. And you know, so they've gained a lot of respect for that. It's hard nosed, but the people in power in Denmark are the Social Democrats.
Okay.
So they're very left.
Right. Okay.
And they realize that if you want to, you know, have a high functioning welfare state where there are great welfare supports for people that aren't working or disabled people or, you know, sick people, then you must control the people. You know, you have you must have a tight leash on who's contributing and who's benefiting from that welfare state.
Okay.
And so that's what people say. You know, Nick, are you left or right? I say I'm a Danish social democrat.
Right. Okay. Okay. And do you think the social democrats in this country matches up to the Dane?
No. I asked them before, I asked a few of the guys in the party, is like, you know, why don't you like the Danish Social Democrats? And they're like, no, we like the German version more. And so they've
seems like a thing you can just define yourself.
Yeah. So the problem is woke. Like it really is, and people are like, oh, define woke. It's radical progressive ideology, and like, they've allowed that capture them, and they're not like, if you're there's nothing wrong with being left, but like you have to, if you're going to be left, you have to have a stringent eye on the economics of being left,
right? Okay,
because it relies on a welfare state, high taxes, and you need to be ruthless when it comes to corruption, because nobody should be being there should be very low corruption in a welfare state. I would say Ireland has high levels of soft corruption. We in the chart of global corruption, we score that there's no corruption here. I think that's the worst chart ever.
Made that up.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, that
corrupt.
Yeah.
Is that why you come up with the make crime illegal? Is that what I interpreted that as, like, white collar crime and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's part of it. Yeah. Well, like if you don't pay your taxes, you're probably not going to go to jail. You might get a fine. So if you're rich enough to pay the fine, you just get off. And at the moment, like, petty crimes you don't go to jail if you. So like, and this is part of the social the left in Ireland. They don't believe in prison sentences. They believe in social justice. And
that's our local cat.
I love it. Yeah. But social justice is gone too far. Like, where people just get bail, they serve their sentence in the community. If you've committed a violent crime or a sexual crime, you shouldn't be serving your sentence in the community.
Yeah,
so they talk about, but then their argument is that when you go to jail, you're not being reformed. You could come out worse. And I'm like, yeah, that's
is that what's in the Danish kind of system? More reform, more than
more reform. But they also have strict sentencing for serious crimes.
Okay.
And we don't have any of that. Like, so the NGO I give out about the most is the Irish Penal Reform Trust, and the president, Michael D. Higgins, is the honorary patron of it.
Okay.
and so I was like, that's one thing I wouldn't do.
Okay.
And these guys will never allow a new prison to be built. They don't want They basically don't want anyone to ever go to prison. What? Ultimately, that's what they believe.
Is that why you see so many people just getting off?
These guys have huge influence. At the start of the last government, they're really well funded using taxpayer money.
Okay.
And at the start of the last government, they held a big event in the Mansion House, and they invited all the political parties to it, and they all went, and they gave speeches. They might have had a few judges at it saying, we want you to sign up to this social justice mandate, and they have lecturers at it that believe in this. I'm like, this is wild. Like, the point, like, you must protect society. Like, dangerous people need to be locked up, and at the moment we're letting people out early because prisons are so full. Their argument is that, well, prisons are full, so therefore prison is not acting as a deterrent to crimes. And I'm like, no, prisons are full because we've exploded our population in the last 20 years. We haven't built any new prisons, and people are now committing more crimes because they know they're not going to go to prison for them. So the logic is just incredible. So they will say, well, if you build more prisons, you will only find ways to fill them. I'm like, okay, that's interesting logic. Well, if you create more IPAS centers, you'll only find ways to fill them. Can we use that logic there? So they're not being truthful. Across the board. And they actually love talking about Denmark and things like that. I say to them, it's not the Danish a la carte menu. Like, you can't pick one policy and not that one. It's all or nothing.
Okay. No, that's very interesting. Because just on that and thinking about Denmark, like, I would love, and I seen that on I watched the other podcast, but I like about being proud of Ireland in a way, you know what I mean? Like, having a government that will kind of take control and not being, I always feel it's like we're always the good little boys, we'll do whatever we're told, and it's such a way, like, Irish people are great, do you know what I mean? And I think we've such a great, like, people are very welcoming, and I'd love to see more of that kind of installed in the people who represent us as a whole, because I don't think it is at the minute.
Well, we're so easy to just,
and it seems like I'm saying that the Danish government have got that, taking control of the country and
push back against Europe. Our government at the moment feel more comfortable agreeing with Brussels
what I mean,
than sticking up for Irish people, and it's the easier road to take. And there's incentives for them to do that because they get better after being Taoiseach or a minister. You might get bumped up to being a commissioner or even president of the council of the European Council, which
so it's career politicians.
It can be. So you got to push back. Like you got to think of, again, it comes back to international obligations, but national obligations first. Sure. And again, like, could
you have that as president, do you think?
I think the president has so much influence. Like, and they might have executive power, but like, I'd love to just,
and the people especially, I think it's
people, but also you can. You have a direct line to government. And you, like, as I said, Michael D was the patron of the Irish Penal Reform Trust. I'd like to be patron of a different, type of NGO, like Benefax. So, have you heard about Benefax? No. So, the only NGO the government has ever shut down was Benefax.
Okay.
Right?
Why?
And Benefax was set up by this lady, Patricia Quinn. Now, Patricia Quinn should be running for president.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I think she's brilliant. Okay, and she got shafted basically. So she set up Benefax, which is this basically spending watchdog. It was like a light version of Doge back in 2015. and it was.
I wonder why they shut it down.
Yeah. Now here we go. Yeah. So it was doing a great job mapping out the spending of government into different NGOs and different charities and bodies, and around 2020 it was getting better and better, and they actually had a portal and you could just, it was really easy to use. And next thing, within 6 months of that portal going live, the government pulled funding, and it was only about. The government funding was about 800 to 900 grand a year, so like pittance in terms of government spend.
Yeah.
And the government said, no, this is not feasible anymore, and we want to take it in house. And it was providing a huge resource to journalists and people online. They were like, wow, look at this, look at this.
Yeah, for sure.
And they shut it down. So BBB, bring back benefax. So that's what I'd love to do.
Okay.
And
I'd say you get a lot of support for that. Like,
No,
you're kind of that now at the minute.
Yeah, exactly. People. I've talked to Patricia who set it up, and so it exposed the amount of spending going to NGOs. And it was apolitical. It was like, we're not saying it's good or
it's
bad.
just following the money.
This is just raw data, and we need that. And they shut that down. And it's amazing the amount of people that don't know that this happened, and like even political commentators and journalists kind of don't realize this.
Yeah.
The Social Democrats actually kicked up a fuss about this, to their credit, and Grip Media have followed it up. And now I try to revive it every few months. I try to put out another story. Remember this?
Okay.
We should have this.
Yeah.
So, people ask me, what would you do as president? I'd make sure this thing comes back.
Okay, yeah.
And you could actually do it privately as well, and privately funded. But I think this should be at the heart of what a democracy is. It's transparency.
Okay, yeah, I like it. And on all that, are you hopeful for Ireland?
Yeah, I think 100%.
Yeah.
Like, Ireland is class.
Yeah.
Like we really are. But again, we've been handed pocket aces.
Yeah.
In so many ways, and we're just playing our hand totally wrong, and we're not focusing on we're focused on everyone else's hand and not on our own sometimes. And we want to solve the world's problems a lot of the time. We think we can solve climate change. We think we can solve.
I was just saying that to you earlier on, isn't it? It is like that. It's like, let's fix everything out without fixing yourself.
Yeah.
And the only way you can help other people is if you help yourself first and be the best you can, and then you're away.
Well, it's like being on the airplane when put on your mask first.
That's exactly what I. Exactly it. They literally tell you that.
Yeah.
Put your own mask on and then help other people. And that's it. You know what I mean?
And like we've loads of money, so it's easy. A lot of people are doing well, but there's an awful lot of people who are not doing well, and they're not. And they just don't see hope. They don't see that, like...
This is why I asked you that, because I do think there is a lack of that, and we all see the problems. I'd love to be getting more about solutions, and let's start trying to fix it together. And I think you are one of those kind of people who can see solutions.
But and it's like ideas, but they're not doing anything. So, like, one thing I talk about is the cap on the airport. Right? That's their own cap. It's their own laws.
Say Michael O'Leary loves you, does he?
No, but see, this is the thing. So Michael O'Leary said at the start of the last general election, vote Fianna Fáil, vote Fine Gael.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
And because he thought they'd lift the cap, because without the Greens, they'd lift the cap. They haven't lifted the cap. We're almost a year in, no cap lifted, and he's still supporting, he was supporting Mairead Guinness. He'll still support Fine Gael. And I'm like, Michael,
why?
Well, what do they have to do to lose your support?
Yeah.
Like if they can't lift the cap on the airport, then they're not going to do anything. Like and it comes back to my thing of they're so conservative because it's a rotating Taoiseach. They want to win their next seat. They want to, like, if Simon Harris rocks the boat and demands the cap and upsets someone else, he mightn't be Taoiseach again in 12 months time.
Yeah,
and it's like. It's just
that's a massive problem, though, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
like there's
huge.
no one. Actually,
there's no one taking leadership or taking control.
Leadership is like to be a leader. You got to be courageous. You got to be willing to make mistakes. If there's no risks, if you're not going to take a risk, you're never going to get a reward.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what people really want.
Yeah,
do you know?
Yeah, and like some of the decisions are simple.
Yeah.
They're not even doing it. I don't really know. Like what, the latest excuse for the cap, I think it could be noise. From
there was estates, people from the estates or something were giving out or something.
Yeah, but there's a lot of arguments to that. The solutions to that maybe the government should compulsory purchase their homes off them, and give them money to move somewhere else if
Or
that's
don't
a
have
problem.
flights at a certain time.
Or don't have
something
flights
like that, you know
at a
what I
certain
mean?
time, or change it. I haven't looked into that problem too much, but there's people giving out about the noise at the airport. But again, like, that's surely in every country. Like, it is in the airport, and but they're not even trying to solve it. They say that we're going to look at this in a year. It's been kicked out for another year, and that's just one thing. The
VAT thing has really annoyed all the hospitality sector as well.
Yeah,
that now decreasing from 13.5% to 9%, so that's kicking up a massive, like, the amount of places closing, man, pubs and restaurants and all that. And I've seen another thing about the amount of young people unemployed, right? And my take on it is the fact when they just up the minimum wage so quick, no small businesses are going to be taken on. Young people, when most of them are going to be minimum, maybe a bit higher than minimum, you're going to be starting off in it. And you have to take on people now basically straight on the same wage that someone's been working for me for a year or two. You know, it's like they're going to want one, and it's a never ending cycle then. And I think they've really messed up there. Like,
exactly, and the VAT from the small businesses doesn't go. It's in their main intake. They could give small businesses a break. I'm subject to 23% VAT.
Okay,
and so I'm like, Jesus, if this was 18%, I could do a lot more. I could employ more people. And like on the minimum wage thing, like the minimum wage, is $13.50 or whatever it is, but it's also, you have to pay, your PSI on top of that.
Exactly.
So that's another 11%.
That's what I mean.
And then you've got tolls, you've got carbon tax on fuel. So they're not making it easy.
No.
Like the people say it's cost of living crisis. I call it a cost of government crisis, because these are all like they're adding these costs on.
Yeah, exactly.
And in a world when...
And if you're saying we've loads of money, why can't they have people out? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And then it's like, well, where's all the money going? And like, so the budget for the country every year is around 110 billion, let's say. And in 2018, it was like 70 billion.
Okay.
So we've got so much more money.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I talk about is the Department of Children. The Department of Children's budget back in 2020 was 1 billion. Now it's almost 10. In the space of 5 years, because it's no longer just the Department of Children; it's the Department of Children Integration, and
so it's abroad.
But all this new money, it's not going to creches, it's not going to schools, it's going to IPAS centres, and when you just realise the profits people are making, like in this, so this is a spend of 2 or 3 billion. No, 3 or 4 billion a year. They'll say in the Irish Times, it's $1.5 billion a year. But when you add on all the other services, it's way more. And when you look at like the guys who are making all the money, this is like they're operating 60% profit margins.
Wow.
And I'm just like, oh, that's all. Well, maybe if we just stop that, and it's controversial, and it's like
a whole
so that's it. And people say you focus on that too much. I was like, no, because it's the newest spend, because we didn't spend this 5 years ago, and it's controversial, and so many people we're making millionaires out of gangsters. And then there's wastage everywhere else apart from that, in education, in health, social welfare. Again, we just need that Department of SNP, but nobody will do it.
Yeah, well, hopefully if you get in.
Yeah, well, so the role of president is different. You won't be able to do a lot of that, but you can hold a mirror up to the government,
exactly,
and you can say these things.
Bit of accountability.
Yeah, and you can say these things and drive debate and conversation, and like the president in many ways is a toothless tiger.
Right, okay.
And well, that's what you should want this, because the Irish president has the least executive power out of any president basically in the world.
Okay.
And is that a good thing or bad thing? I don't know, but we should talk about it. Should the president have more powers? Let's talk about it. But at the moment, he has no powers. So why not?
But he's a representation of the country and a voice for. Because it's nationally elected by everybody.
Yes. It's the only person. It's the only political figure elected by the entire country.
Exactly.
That means something. It should be used to say something.
Yeah, for sure.
And so why not put someone in there that's willing to speak out?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they can't. It's not as if they're going to change the laws, but they can drive the conversation. So you kind of want someone in there at this point in time that will spur things on. Because like there's a few things, like the government or the papers will say that the social contract is broken, that there are no role models for young men and women at the moment, and that nobody's going into politics. And I'm like, I'm here.
Yeah.
I may not be perfect, but I'm trying my best here. like, so, and I'm trying to come along with solutions. Let's give us a chance. Put me on the ballot.
Yeah. Well, that one of the last things, because we are running out of time. But how can people, like, if you like what you hear about Nick, how can people help you?
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm trying to get on these councils. If you can email your local councillors. Just email them and say, and even send them a link to this and say, watch this, you should give Nick a chance. And it doesn't matter what county you're in, just go onto your local council website. They're all listed out with their email addresses, and just email them and say, give Nick a chance. And if you see me, if you're online, tag me and stuff. Like, if you see any debate about presidential elections, say, no, I'm voting Nick. I'm voting Nick.
Okay,
let's get it's a viral campaign. So viral
podcast and viral.
So it's a viral canvas.
We're
not knocking on doors. Right. We're tagging on Instagram.
Yeah, nice. Well, you have to reach the whole country then.
Exactly.
But look, Nick, thank you very much.
Thank you. That was great.
And really good chat.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed it, and I wish you the best of luck.
No, thank you.
I hope it goes well for you, man.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, mate. Cheers, buddy.
From that day, we share cafe lattes. Ooh, cafe.